Firefox, it will look like this in an older version of Internet Explorer. Let's see what difference we have. Notice our borders are rounded in Firefox and not in IE. What else is different? Most everything else is pretty much the same. Our font color, our heading font for our table, we're going to create a table in Chapter 5, is a different shade. But other than that, it's pretty similar. In Chapter 5, we're going to work with tables and columns. I showed you the page that we're going to be creating, the site for the local radio, public radio station. And this chapter, they jump right into doing before they talk about theory. So let's do it. Let's just jump right in. These are the pages we need: KPAF text, tables text, and schedule text. Sched text, not schedule text. And we are to save these as, and here's a tricky thing, sched text we save as schedule. So make sure that you get the names right, because when they give you commands later, you might accidentally mess something up. So I'm going to copy those two lines to my other pages. And file save as schedule.htm. What did they tell us to save this as? File save as table or tables? They're not telling us yet. Sched text, KPF text, KPAF CSS. Well, I'm just going to assume it's tables for now. And this KPAF, file save as KPAF. Take out the TXT. I do need to remember to check that later, though. So the only ones we're working with right now are this one and this one. So I'm going to scoot this one over. You can just drag that tab over to get it out of your way. Review the schedule.htm file in your text editor to become familiar with its contents. We're on page 320 in Chapter 5. And you can do that. And then insert the following link element above the closing head tag. What do you think it's going to be? The link to the CSS page. And check it. Looks good. Open schedule in your web browser. Let's see. Okay, so this is what we're starting with. We don't have our big table in the middle. Gosh, they're making this a lot easier for you than it was last year. Last semester, you had to do all of this on the right as well. This time we're just making a table here. This is going to be a very simple chapter. We're just going to add the nightly schedule here, and we're going to do that to make it look like that. But this is already there for us. So let's go back to Notepad and create a table and table rows. When we create tables and table rows, we have certain syntax we follow. Let me show you in the PowerPoint. Oops. Ooh. We're going to do this. This is what a web table, here's an image, kind of image map to show you the different tags we're going to use. And this is the basic structure of a table. You start with table, you close with table. It's pretty clear. TR for table cells is because it's table row. Then we're going to create spans or whatever. But basically, TR is a table row. We can also identify table headings, the cells that identify the contents at the top of the column or at the left of the row using the TH element. And the cells themselves are marked TD. D stands for data. So we're going to put this table and insert a web table. Let's go back to this. And on page 322, read it says defining a table structure. It says what I just said. And we're going to go to the tan box and insert the web table. So return to the schedule.html file directly above the closing _section tag right here. Directly above this, insert the following code. Table class equals schedule, and then a table row, and then we close the table row. And then we need 3 of those. And then we close our table. And save. We're going to use the class attribute so that this table will look different than the other table. We've already got a table on the right side, so we want our tables to look different, so that's why we're going to use the class attribute for this. And this one is called the schedule. Then we're going to mark table headings and table data that I just talked about. And in the first table row of the web table we just created, this is the first table row right here. We're going to insert the following table header elements. And I'm going to go ahead and do each one on a new line so that it's nice and clear for you. And you can too. That way you can see your errors more easily. Time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the second row of the table. Okay, now see where this is? This gets confusing for some people. So look up here. This is the row. These headings are within one row of the table. Let me show you. So we've got a row here, and right now this is what it's looking like. These are the headings. Time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now it's telling us in the second row, insert the following heading. I'm actually going to separate these rows also, just to make it a little clearer for you. Okay, so in the second row, insert the following heading. TH, 6 o'clock, close TH. In the third table row, insert the following heading. TH, 6:30. TH. Now, here's what's interesting about this. We've got table headings up here, and then we've got table headings down here, and they're not located in the same place. Look at this. See, these are marked as table headings, and they go across the top. These are marked as table headings, and they're on the left. So what that means is we're going to be adding data cells after these headings on these two rows. This row, the top row, is all headings. But this one is a heading and then data cells. a heading, and then data cells. And that's for formatting purposes. Just makes it stand out better. So we're moving over to page 324, and we're going to put the data cells in. And they're going to follow that on the second row. And you can look at the picture. See, it's going to say national news. Well, it's going to say it over and over again, so we're just going to copy it. So what we want within the row, within the second row, after the table heading, we want a table data cell. This is national news. We close the data cell. And this one we're definitely going to copy over and over. How many times? 7. For 7 days a week. 3, 6, 7. And I'm going to save that. And then in the third row, here's our third row, table row. After our table heading, that's the first entry on the left, we need 7 TD elements that say local news. So, TD, local news, close TD. I'm going to copy that. 1, 2, 3, I've got 4 of them. 5, 6, 7. 7 days of the week. And I'm going to save that. Now let's look at our page here and see what we have. There's our table. Now we're going to format our table with some additional attributes. Let me see something. So we're going to add borders to the web table using HTML border attribute, and this is the command for that, the tag, table border equals, and then just the border width in pixels. So there's examples on this page of what it looks like with 0 pixels, 1 pixel, 5 pixels, and 10 pixels of border width. So let's go back to our table and let's do that. In the schedule.html file, on page 326 in the tan box, it says add the attribute border equals 1. And that goes right there in that table class. After the table class, it's just an attribute that goes right there. Border equals 1. And if we don't put px, it assumes px. If you wanted em or %, you're not going to get it. You're going to get px. That's the default. And it means it's going to be all the way around. Top, left, right, top, right, bottom, and left. If you want them to be different, then you specify them as different. So let's just save that and see what happens here. Whoops. Now we have a border that's 1 pixel. And it looks different, I believe, in Firefox. Let's see, go back here. Not much. Not much at all. Our font's a little different. It's not quite as bold in Firefox as in Internet Explorer, but not very different at all. Now we're going to talk about spanning rows and columns. Look at the image of what this is supposed to look like. You see that what we have here is a bunch of small cells, and we have national news repeated over and over again. It's a lot neater if we have it once go all the way across. And so we're going to do that by spanning cells. Whenever you work in a Word document and you create a table, it does the same thing. Let me show you. I'm going to quickly create a table in Word, insert table, and I'm going to make it 8 by 3. And I'm going to put over here time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put 6 o'clock, 6:30. And then in the Monday, I'm going to put national news. And look what I'm going to do in Word. I'm going to take that, I'm going to click and drag, and then I'm going to right click, and it's going to say merge cells. It's the same thing as span cells. Word operates just like HTML. That's why you have style sheets in Word that you can use to change what things look like. If I want to make that a heading, let me change my page layout so that it's easier to see. I want to make that a heading, and then I want to change my styles in Word. I can just come over here and I can try different ones, and notice how my heading changes each time. That's because there are style sheets attached to this document. Well, they're actually within the document, and they're very heavy. They're repeated constantly throughout in each place. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to take this. Let me see, and I'm going to put it in eCampus. And I'm going to just call it a page. I'm going to paste it there. And it says, it seems you're copying from Word. And I say, okay. And I'm going to leave my style definitions there. And look, it's real pretty in eCampus. But look at what the source text, the HTML text looks like. Just for those 3 rows. That's because Word is carry each of the, see there, it's got it. Table, style, then it says border bottom, medium, none. Border left, medium, none. Border collapse, we'll learn about that. Border top, medium, none. Border right, medium, none. Border 1 pixel width. Cell spacing 0, we'll talk about that. Cell padding 0. And then it goes on and does that for every single row. And we are going to do it much more simplified, because this is, a problem with Word is if you try to create you can't create websites with Word because it's just too bulky. All right, so just to give you an idea of what that's looking like. Now let's go back to the PowerPoint and see the syntax to create those merged cells is called call span or row span. A cell that spans several columns is a call span. If it spans several rows vertically, it's row span. And then we just say how many rows, which is what we're going to do with the assignment. And then we're going to create it to caption. So let's get back to it, because I want to show you the spanning first. Students who are in the online class should be reading page 327, and then come back to this. Now on 328, in the tan box, we're going to add the attribute call span equals 7 to the second table cell in both the second and third rows. Okay, so we're actually going to, now if we do that, if we do TD call span equals 7, and then we do it down here, like they said, TD call span equals 7, and we save it, we're going to have a big mess. Watch this. You see how it goes over here? This is because you spanned 7 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But you still left those data cells there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more of them. So you got to take those out. So we come back to this, and we take out those other ones. And we save. We make sure everything matches. Good, good. Now we come back and watch, these will be gone because we just deleted them, but we've got our spans there that we wanted. Okay? And then you need to read page 329, and then we'll span some rows. So we come back here and add the following row to the bottom of the schedule table. So we've got table, let's see, where's that? what are we trying to accomplish? Oh, look at the picture on 331. That's what we're trying to accomplish. We're actually adding another row. So we've got here, we've got a table, and this is the end of the table. We've got the first row, the second row, the third row. So it's saying add another row. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put in here a new row, and I'm going to go ahead and close it so that I can keep track of all these little cells and things. And then it says put in a heading row, and that header will go over on the left column. And in that we're going to put 7 o'clock because we've already got 6 and 6:30. And then we're going to need 7 items after it because the table has to be square. So we're going to put 7 items after it, and those are going to be Opera Fest, Radio U, Science Week, The Living World, Wordplay, Agri Week, and Folk Fest. Because what we're saying is that these shows last an hour instead of half an hour. So we're going to put these in here just like it says in the book. TD, and I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And I'm going to put it underneath because it's faster. And then I'm going to say, okay, TD, oh, but it wants us to put in row span equals 2 rows. Then we've got Opera Fest. The next row, TD row span equals 2. And this one is going to be Radio U. And the next row, TD row span equals 2. And this one's going to be Science Week. And we close it. And the next one, TD row span equals 2. The Living World. Close it. The next one, TD row span equals, look at the picture. There's no row span there. No row span. There is one for Folk Fest, though, so we'll just save that for later. But we've got 2 that don't span rows. So on those, we're going to go TD Wordplay and close it. TD Agri Week and close it. And then we've got the row span for Folk Fest. Now, while I'm talking about this, I want you to look back and forth from page 330, where you're typing it, or from the image on the screen, to page 331. See how we have 1 row at 7 o'clock. And it's Opera Fest, Radio U, Science Week, The Living Word, Wordplay, Agri Week, and Folk Fest. Let's add Folk Fest. That's 1 row. So let's look at what that looks like by refreshing this. It's not spanning because we don't have another row below it. We've got to have another row below it to span into. So we come back to it, and let's make another row. Now what would happen if we stopped right there and said save? Let's see. Nothing yet. So we've got to define this row a little better. And so we're going to say in this row that it's going to have a table heading, 7:30. And then we're going to need 7 cells. Well, we've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them up there. So all we need are 2 more. So let's do TD brain stew. close TD. TD, Bismarck Forum, close TD. Okay, that might not make a lot of sense, but let's look at it and see if it's right. See, what happened is we had to have these two items, Brain Stew and Bismarck Forum, in order for this row to span properly. If we didn't have them, if we only said 7:30 and then didn't have them, let's see what would happen. We'd have a mess. See what we're missing here? We're missing some information. So I'm going to put it back in and save it. And then go on page 331 and add the remaining KPAF evening programs to fill out the schedule so that it looks like the image on page 333. I'm going to go ahead and do that and pause the video and let you type that yourself. Okay, so I came back to show you because it's just a little confusing because in this one we're going to have both a row span and a column span. So you can see where I added, while I was paused, another row, and I gave it a heading for 8 o'clock. And in this case, I'm going to have a table cell with a row span of 4 and a call span of 4. So that must be a really big show called the Classical Music Connection. And I'm going to close that. And then I'm going to sandwich in one more show in that slot called Old Time Radio. Obviously not as popular. And then I'm going to have a row span of 4 for Saturday Night Jazz and the Indie Connection. And in order to understand what I'm talking about, you need to look at the image. You need to turn ahead to page 333 to see what we're trying to accomplish here. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my row span equals 4. Saturday Night Jazz. Close it. This row span equals 4. Oops, look what I'm missing there. That would have messed up. The Indie Connection. Close it. My row is already closed. I'm going to save that. I'm going to come over here and see what I've got. Looking good. Does it match the picture in the book? No. Old Time Radio, Open Intermind, and Open Mic Night aren't there. So I got my span there, but I don't have enough information yet. So I come back over here, and I see step 2 on page 331 that we have an 8:30 show, and it needs to be in its own row again. And we're going to give it a table heading for consistency. And we're going to put the inner mind and close it. Okay, now let's see what that looks like. Okay, good. Oops, I got a typo there, but we're still missing Open Mic Night. Why? Oh, and here's a problem too. So I got a typo here, and I got this I need to clean up here. This show lasts from 8 to 10 o'clock. So we're going to come back over here. I'm going to find that 8:30. What happened? Where'd that come from? There it is, that extra mark. And there's the typo. And I'm going to put the 9 o'clock show on its own row with the table heading of 9 o'clock. And the title of the show, and this is going to span 2 rows as we see on the image on the next page. So we're going to say data cell row span equals 2 open Mike Knight, and save. Now let's see what this looks like. Okay, getting better, but this show runs until 10, from 8 to 10, so we're going to need one more row at least. So we come back here and let's put in another row. And we're going to go ahead and put in our table heading for consistency. And is that enough? Let's see. Okay. And then we need to put in our last show of the day. One more row. And that's going to be our 10 o'clock. And we have a show that's every night at 10 o'clock to 10:30 called World News Feed. So that's going to be a TD call span 7. Right? Close it. And let's see how that looks. So there it is. Does it look like the picture in the book on 333? Yes. Now we're going to create a table caption for that. To create a table caption, we're going to add the caption element directly below the opening table tag with the syntax caption, and then close caption. And then we just type in whatever that caption is going to be. So that goes directly below the opening table tag. So let's go back up there to the top table. And directly below that, before the first row, we're going to put caption. Close it. Oops. And what's our caption? All times central. And let's see what that looks like here. There's our caption now. Goes above. It's part of our table. It's not part of this text above it. So it travels with our table if we have our table somewhere else. Students in the online class need to read aligning a caption with HTML on 335 and marking row groups on 336. So I'm going to mark the row groups just as it shows here in the PowerPoint. Dividing the table's rows into row groups so that each group element contains different types of content for formatting purposes. So within my table here, you can see I have a table head with table rows, and then I have a table foot with table rows, and a table body with table rows. These are the row groups. These are standard tags. These are, I didn't make these up like I did, section or anything that has a pound sign in front of it. These are standard: table head, table foot, table body. And you can have multiple table body row groups, and you can have column groups. The same thing. You can have first call, but you just have to name them. Whereas you don't do the row groups. The row groups have standard names. The column groups, you name them. And then we can add a table summary to include more detailed description about the table. So let's get back to finishing this section up. On page 337, there's a red box that talks about creating row groups that you need to read. And in the brown box at the bottom of 337, it says, enclose the first row of the table within an opening and closing set of T-head tags. So here's the first row of the table here. And we want to enclose them within T head tags. And then with the second one, we're going to put in T body tags. And this is for formatting purposes. And then in the third row, is it telling us yet? No, it's not telling us yet to do T foot tags. And save that. And then we're going to mark column groups. You need to read pages 338 and 339 about creating column groups, and then we're going to do it here. Return to the schedule file. Directly below the caption element, there's our caption. Insert the following call group element as shown on page 340 in figure 520. So below the caption, we're going to need some lines because it's going to go above the T head. We're going to go call group. And we're going to close that. And then we're going to have some column classes to define the table's appearance. And we're going to call the first one call class equals first call. Oops, I'm supposed to have a space here. And close that. And then call class equals day calls for the days. I'm going to say the span equals 7. And close that. And then I've got my call group already closed there. I'm going to save that. So there's some important topics on page 341 that you all need to read in the green box about problem solving for tables with page layout. Then we add a table summary, and we're done with that section. So the table summary described on page 342 is for non-visual browsers, like they're reading for the blind. Then it'll tell what the table is about. The person can't see it or can't see it very well, then they still get a description on their reader software that tells them. So we go back to here, and right here under table class, we can put a summary. And then we save that, and then we read the blue text on 343, and we are done with section 1. You don't have to watch me type the summary in there. Now you can see that this summary is not very interesting at all, but it does describe what's on the page so that one who cannot see it will know what they're missing, I guess. And they could call the station and say, would you please tell me the times, on their special phone. Okay, let's see. I've got summary. I definitely need to close that. Notice the closing. There's no slash there. Let me see, did I have an opening? Summary equals, and then quotation mark, and then the text, and then close quotation. Here's what I did. I moved this down there because it becomes part of that. You see, part of that description of the table. So that's where that closing tag moves to. So we are done with that. Let's just take one more look at it. This is what it looks like. If it were on a reader, it would be announced to us. And that's the end of section 1.